Hello everybody and welcome back. Let's get on to some techniques. So we're going to be doing the two-sided tapers today. Now this is a technique that you can use to make leaf forms, spatulas, flowers and all sorts of stuff like that. It's an amazing technique for isolating and dividing up material. Right, so with this scrap of half-inch square bar, I'm going to be using the round die of my hammer and hitting half on half off the edge of the anvil. Now this is going to have the effect of setting a shoulder down, and you'll notice I'm turning 90 degrees back and forth with each blow. I don't want to hit more than once, otherwise it's going to make the cross-section in there go rectangular, and then when we try and check it back, it can have the tendency to want to form a cold shut and want to roll over. Now once we've taken down the first shoulder to about half the diameter of the bar, you'll see that I'm now going to the near side of the anvil, again with the round die, and again turning between 90 degrees with every blow, and I'm beginning to change it from, rather than just a forwards taper at the isolation, I'm changing it into a forwards taper leading into a reverse taper. And this is the type of hammer that I'm using. This is a 3.5 pound rounding hammer that I make. And you can see that both faces are generously radiused, but especially the round side, what's important about it is it's not just a half sphere. What it really is it's an infinite number of radii. We have a very shallow radius on the center of the round die, and then it becomes much smaller and much smaller, meaning that we can adjust the amount of surface area contact we exert with each blow and adjust the radii of what we're hitting. It's a wonderful tool for forging effectively. You'll see the concave nature of the blows that I'm making on the steel as we come back here. Now, overall, I'm going to want a complete reverse taper from the isolation at the far end of the bar coming towards me. This is generally pretty good for keychains and the like. So I keep breaking it down until right at that near shoulder, it is smaller, that's key, smaller than the first shoulder away from us. Now, we have this lump in the middle, right? How are we going to get that down? That's what we're going to do next heat. But for now, you just want to get familiar with the orientation of your shoulders. You'll note that your shoulders are opposing each other. It takes a little while to get used to, but I have something that might well help you, which I'll tell you about at the end. Now, when I was talking about the different radii on the hammer, this is what I'm showing here. You saw me tilt the hammer towards myself to chop in a lot more vigorously to make the forging go faster. Now we've got to understand that the less surface area contact we have, the faster the material is going to move, and the more surface area contact we have, the slower the material is going to move. So as we get closer to our finished dimensions, you can see here, rather than tilting my hammer so aggressively, in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the large area of my round die at first, and then I'm going to go all the way back to my flat die, which has even more surface area contact, which means that we're moving less material with each blow, so we're being more precise, we're being more clean in our forging, and it means we can get these nice, clean surfaces. And again, this is where you start to see the benefit of the two-sided tapers. You see how our piece is kept nice and straight along the whole time we're forging it, and it means that we can forge this stem without having to cut it off, hold the finial in tongs, and beat around on it while it's bending around in the tongs and not being held right. Now, to take it to a round, what do we have to do? We have to make sure that our shoulders are not going to make the piece bend. We have to make sure that all opportunities, the shoulders are hanging over the anvil, and that the edge of our hammer is not going to contact the shoulders in any negative ways. You can see I'm being very precarious here, making sure that I don't mess up that shoulder and create a cold shut or just bend it unnecessarily. Take your time here. And if your workpiece doesn't bypass the entire width of your anvil like this does, what you can do is in fact go to the step or the heel of your anvil, hold your workpiece at 45 degrees, and find a spot where you have full clearance with the isolations that are opposing each other on either side of the stem. Then you can go all the way around on all sides like this, just again making sure that we don't hit our shoulders there with the hammer. We want to get this nice and round. This is just for fun to get it so round. If I was making, say, a leaf, perhaps, in fact, I probably wouldn't take so much effort to make it so round. What I'd likely do is leave it a little bit of a rough round to give the idea of a round, and also because, efficiency is a little bit important when we're trying to kind of, potentially make some money at a craft fair, say. I first learnt these techniques from Brian Brazil. This wonderful way to divide and isolate material has been really helpful for me, especially in these craft fair scenarios. And now I'm going to show you a little trick with one of the beauties of this two-sided taper I haven't talked about yet, and it's the ability to make a finial that doesn't actually require holding it in tongs while you taper it, nor cooling it off to manipulate the rest of the bar. So as you can see, I took my round die, I forged a little bit more of a taper, and then I, very counterintuitively, I know it seems kind of an odd thing to do, I smacked it over the edge of the anvil and put a very sharp 90-degree bend. Then, holding a pair of tongs, merely to bend it rather than have to fiddle around with it wobbling around while we're really forging on the end, we can begin to roll up the bar, and you'll see because that area is the weakest part on the bar, it's going to want to roll up first, and then we can keep twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting, and this, what we could potentially call a rung scroll, makes for a wonderful finial on jewellery, bangles, hooks, all sorts of things like this. You'll see that there's a little bit of a snub that sticks up there. You can then take the very corner, the very small radius of your rounding hammer, and just kind of pin that over a little bit. And I think that this is a really effective design, and again, this is one of the wonderful things I picked up from Brian Brazil. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit more of the pace, a little bit more of the flow and rhythm that I'd use if I was kind of potentially doing this to make leaves or what have you for a craft fair. So as you can see, it is a little bit faster. You know, there is a certain rhythm to it that I want to keep, and you'll see me lay the hammer to the side so I can keep my rhythm without having to disturb it. And I actually very much enjoy forging at this pace. I actually much prefer it to forging slower. You can really see the metal light up, and it really exemplifies some of the things I love about forging, taking such hard material and turning it into such a plastic, movable and supple state, and being able to manipulate it how we want is just absolutely beautiful. You'll notice that my anvil is wobbling around here, so I'm an advocate for mounting your anvils down super tight. You know, you want your anvil bolted super tight to a really stout stand that's not going anywhere, a stout steel stand preferably, and you want that stout steel stand bolted to a hell of a lot of mass, ideally a big pad of concrete. Now, I'll confess, so I can get the right lighting and so I can be in the right place in my workshop, I don't actually have studs in the ground. I move this anvil out here just to do the videos. So, yeah, I know, kind of gotta swallow my tongue there a little bit as I confess that. But the anvil that I work at most of the time is indeed bolted with some hefty 5/8" bolts. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I have a little surprise for you. If you want to claim your free PDF guide that you can print off and take to the workshop with you to better understand potentially how to go about the two-sided taper when you're actually at the anvil, if you click the first link in the description, you'll be able to claim your free PDF. I'll email that right over to you if you follow the instructions, and most of all, I really hope you have a lovely day. I hope you leave your comments, and I hope you subscribe if you found it informative, because I really want to be providing more and more value to you guys in the future. Have a lovely day. It's always a pleasure. Bye-bye.